Hey everyone, this is Judi with JLBCrafts. Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, thank you so much for giving me a try. In today's video, I'm going to go through my process for making month covers. So for those of you that are regulars on my channel, you may remember during my social media monthly setup, I decided to use washi tape and let it cover April. And I could not find anywhere in my book an April sticker that covered this to my satisfaction. They were all too big or too small or the wrong kind of font. So today I'm going to attempt to remedy that situation. I'm going to get my spreadsheet program out and I'm going to pick a bunch of fonts and print some stickers. So let's get started. Let's switch over to the spreadsheet program. Alright, so the first thing we need to do to make some date covers is open. I like to use a spreadsheet program. This one's called Neat Office. It's just the free Office suite that you can download from the Microsoft Store. Since I have Windows, I have access to that. So the first thing we're going to do is put in our January through the December. So I'm just going to type in January. And I'm right here in this first cell. And then I'm just going to grab this little black box in the corner and stretch it across, and it automatically assumes I want to continue with the sequence, and it fills in the rest of the month. So you can type them in too, it doesn't really matter. Down here it shows at 75%, so I'm going to increase the size a little bit more so you guys can see it a little better. And then the first thing I need to do, so one of the nice things about this is when I hover my mouse over the line in between two of the columns, it gives me this little double-headed arrow, and it tells me how wide my numbers are. So based on some of the wider Aprils and Mays, some of the wider ones I might want to cover up, I know that I want, for my big ones, I want to go about 1.1 or 1.2 inches wide. So if, with all of these columns selected, if I pick any one of them, it's going to make this change to all of them. So if I make it about, somewhere between 1.1, we'll go 1.15, and it didn't do it. Okay, because I didn't have the column selected. So when I select the entire column, I can make them all 1.5. When I change one, it changes them all. And that's just to give me some idea how wide I can get, how big I can get on the letters. So I picked the number 1 over here, and that way I select the entire row. And I'm torn between turning this into how to use a spreadsheet 101 versus my method. So there may be some things I do that I don't explain. There are plenty of spreadsheet tutorials, free tutorials out there online. Or you can ask me questions in the comments down below. So I'm going to just try to focus on my method. So I have this row selected, and what I'm going to do right up here on my particular setup, it says Liberation Sans. That's the font. When I click the arrow, I can go down, and since I have those highlighted, I don't know, actually let me make them bigger first. So I'm going to change these from a 10-point font to a 20-point font. There you go, now you can see them. And actually some of them are chopped off. You can see the Y in February is missing, some of September is missing. But just for now, I'm going to grab all my 12 columns and I'm going to double click, and that automatically sizes them all for whatever is in the column. So now if we go back and select our first row, now we can go in and start playing with different fonts. So I'm just going to scroll all the way up to the top alphabetically and hover. I'm not clicking anything. I'm just hovering over, and you can see it automatically shows you what the words would look like if you do click on that font. And I can just come down and look for one that I like. This one's kind of fun. Sometimes I like to color in with a Sharpie S note or something. I like to color in the letters. So we could set this first row to be this one. And then again, I need to pick all my columns, double click once I have the two-headed arrow here, and that automatically sizes them Each column is sized, so like the May column is narrow versus the January column, which is wide. I'm just shrinking this a little bit so you can see everything on the page. So there I'm at 85%. So now if I go ahead and put in another row, January, come back up and pick it, stretch all the way across to December so that I get them all, and I can do this again. So I'm going to go with maybe 18, and we'll go ahead and pick another font. This one, that's a pretty fancy one. I don't know why those are up high. But until I actually click on it, it's not going to change them. I'm just hovering over. And you can make them bold, you can make them italics, whatever you want, whatever appeals to you. I'm kind of into the fun, like handwriting looking ones these days. That one's pretty. And I can make it bold. And then I can make those, I can make it even bigger so it fills in the box a little bit better. I don't care so much how tall they are, but we need to be careful not to get too wide. And I am leaving everything, I could center, but I'm leaving everything left justified so that when I go to cut these, kiss cut these as stickers, I can at least cut straight along one side of each column. Okay, so let's talk about, first I'm going to save this so that we don't lose our progress. And I'm just going to call this, oops, I'm going to call this months. Okay, so now we're going to go to the page preview, the print preview, sorry. It's this little printer icon up here with the magnifying glass over it. I know it's hard to tell. And when I click on that, so now here I can set up my sheet. I can show my margins. And these are some standard office margins. They're going to waste a lot of your paper, so I like to just drag them and make them smaller. And we'll do a preview, a test print to make sure we didn't go out of bounds. The other thing I want to do, I'm going to go up here to Format, and I'm going to format the page. And I'm going to tell it I don't want the header and the footer. So you can see it automatically puts page 1 and sheet 1, and you can fill those in, but I just don't even need them. So I'm going to turn the header off by unclicking that box. And I'm going to turn the footer off by unclicking that box. And hit OK, and there you can see they go away. And now I can drag this line way up and this line way down. Oop, if I can get, there we go. And again, we need to do a test print to make sure that we don't go off the sheet. So as of right now, it says I have 3. Down here, you can see it says I'm on page 1 of 3. And I can look at the other pages. So December is cut off. I don't want that. I want to make good use of my sticker paper. So I have 2 options. I can try to make these margins even wider to fit that on there, or I can make the words a tiny bit narrower so that they take up a little bit less space and will hopefully fit on 2 pages. Or we can try going to Format, picking Page, and going to the Page tab here and switching to Landscape, which turns the paper 90 degrees. So there we go. So now I've got January through August. So I'm still not making very good use of my page. So I think what I'm going to do is go back and switch it back to portrait instead of landscape, and just make my words a tiny bit smaller so I get down to 2 pages instead of 3 pages. So I'm going to close the print preview, and I'm just going to take right now the columns are controlled by this top row and the size that I made it. So I'm going to shrink it down just a little bit and make it 18. I'm going to select these columns now, get my little double arrow, double click, there we go, it shrank everything automatically. Now if we go to print preview, now it says I'm down to 2 pages. And if I look at the second page, yeah, I've got some breathing room there. If these margins are too small, I can make them a little bigger. So I think that's about the maximum I want my columns. Now all I have to do is do a bunch of these in different fonts that I like. So I'm going to close this back out. I'm going to put some more Januaries in here. January. I'm going to drag these across so I have through December. And then I'm going to drag down. Oh, and it's not working. Okay. So I'm just going to hit Control C, which is copy. I'm going to pick a bunch of rows. And I'm going to hit Control V for paste. Oops, and it, oh, that was weird. Why did it do that? I didn't want it to do that. Okay, undo. Where's undo? There's undo. So January to December. You can also right click and pick copy. And then I'm just going to go pick a big bunch, right click, hit paste or Control V. There we go. So now I've got a bunch of rows of my font. So I'm just going to pick a row. I'm over here. I picked the 3 and I'm going to go and change the font a bunch of times just into a bunch of fun ones that I like. So I was up here in the B's, I think. Yeah. So you can see it changing. Oh, I forgot to make them bigger. I'm going to grab these all, 3 through 38 or however many rows you made, and I'm going to change the font to about, I'm going to go about 18. And then I'll pick one row. There we go. And I'm going to come up and just start changing these into a bunch of different fonts. I'm going to make each row a different font. So we were up here, that one, that's the one from right above. So I'm just picking a bunch that I like. Ooh, that's fun, I like that one. Brush 4588, 455. I can make it bold, I can make it bigger so it fills the column a little better. Again, I don't care about top to bottom size. I do care about left to right size because I need it to fit across 2 pages. There we go. I might make this one a little bigger too. 26. Yeah, because I still haven't gotten as wide as this very first one. All right, number 4. That's pretty. Bold, we'll make it a little bigger. Almost too big, almost. Let's go 1, yeah, a little bit smaller. Okay, next one. This free little program comes with so many fonts. I mean, I'm only in the C's and I have so many to choose from. I think I want to pick, no. Yeah, I want to pick all of it. So I picked this spot up here in the very top corner, which chooses everything on the entire spreadsheet. I'm just going to go ahead and make everything bold because most of them, aside from this very first one that has the outline, which I don't want bold because I want to be able to color that one in. But everything else I just went ahead and made bold. So I was on this one, Carmina. I can make it just a little bit bigger. We'll go 22, too big, because it's, see my R is kind of hanging over the edge and my September is cut off. So I went a little bit too big, 20. September, yep, I got a little bit of space, okay. So that is my process. I will do a few more of these and just fast forward and put this to music so you can see. And then we'll do some test printing and we'll switch out of the spreadsheet program. But this is all there is to it, really. Alright, so this is what I ended up with for my first test print. So I really encourage you to go ahead and do a test print and look for trouble spots. So I'm just going to grab a highlighter and kind of scan down through here and look for, so it looks like my very first row is not cut off, but I can already tell you that I don't like these, this first font. I like this second font, and I kind of like the third font, although I think maybe I don't want the third font in bold. I don't know if I like those lines that fat. Also, I wouldn't print these on clear sticker paper. I would only print these on white sticker paper because the whole point of these, for me at least, is to color them in with a highlighter. So for example, I would go like this. And these are quite small, and actually I'm noticing that my pen is kind of smearing. So this might actually not be something I do because I have to assume that it's going to smear on my sticker paper as well. I'm going to grab a Sharpie S Note and do a little more testing. So yeah, these are very small. So I think I was going to advise you that you take these off if you're printing on clear, but I think I'm going to take them off completely and just not do that. And you can see I did double and triple of the ones I thought I would like the most. So I think what I'll do is take those off, and that actually saves me some effort because I was going to have to do a second different set for clear sticker paper. So as I was showing you in the spreadsheet program, I basically just kept adding rows and picking fonts that I liked until I got, I ended up doing 2 different sheets here, and I got through the entire alphabet of fonts that were available in my particular spreadsheet program, and it only got me to about 1.5 pages. So I went back through, scanned back through, and did duplicates of the ones that I really thought I would like. As far as how these are going to fit in my planner, I'm just going to grab some blank pages and we can look at it. So if I wanted to use these in a monthly spread, most of these aren't going to be big enough to cover that April. So I encourage you also to think about, where do you want to use these? Obviously, you're not going to come up with something that would cover this particular April very easily. If you have one of the more neutral planners, such as this one, to cover that April, pretty much any of these are going to work. So yeah, pretty much any of these are going to work for this one. Let's see, let's just kind of, I've got several different planners here. You're not going to find much that's going to cover a word that big. That one, I think height is going to be your issue. So this one might be tall enough to cover something like that. I don't use these, and I probably wouldn't try to cover this because it's pink over white, and you're not going to be able to cover that well. What else do I have in here? So going into some of the dashboard layouts, again, you're not going to be able to cover that very well. This is pretty big. I'm not sure I've got anything that would be big enough to cover that one either. But typically in my dashboard, I'm using a piece of scrapbook paper on this side. So that one, yeah, I've got some stuff that would probably cover that one. I'm just comparing April to April. However, if you're grabbing like January of a different year and trying to turn it into April, then you're going to have difficulty getting a word April that's wide enough to cover something like a January. So sizing is really kind of, it's hard to come up with a good rule of thumb for sizing. Again, that's just huge. Plus it's over a colored background, so it would be difficult to cover that cleanly. This one's a little smaller. I probably could get that covered if I needed to. Not with a June or a July or a May, but like a January could cover the April. So again, it's really kind of hit or miss all over the place. as far as being able to cover other words. At least we can see we're in the right ballpark for a lot of these. So I definitely want to do a set of these on white sticker paper and a set of these on clear matte sticker paper. It looks like, so I did my trick like I did in my video, and I will link it in the cards up above, my video for doing stickers, where I talk about telling it, going into the dialog box on your printer and telling it to print borderless and not to stretch. And looking at that, it looks like maybe the very, very tip of this J on January is cut off. So I have everything left justified. I could look for a trouble spot like this and just tell that particular one, not the whole row, not the whole column, just this particular square to be centered or right justified, just to give myself a little bit of breathing room on that side. I've definitely got space over here. Like I said, I picked enough fonts that this continued on to a second page. I'm not seeing... Yeah, nothing here. That one's kind of close. It's right at the very edge. I don't know if you can tell on camera. It's right at the very edge. So I might be okay leaving that one alone. And then when we get into the second half of the alphabet, so my A for August, right at the edge there, but not cut off. And this one right here at the very edge, the very last one. So on both of those pages, that font, that very, very last font, I think I need to just bring that over just a tiny little bit on both of those. But otherwise, it looks, oh, and this one, it looks pretty good. So I think what I'm gonna do, the other thing I was considering was folding these in half to find my center point and then cutting them. So what I'm gonna do, and I won't bore you guys with all of these steps, but I'm gonna get rid of these, pick a few more that I really like, and double the rows so that I have still, again, 2 nice full sheets of paper, because I don't want to waste any sticker paper. So I want to make sure they're nice and full, and then I'll probably do one more test print before I print on sticker paper, and then I'll show you how I want to kiss cut the stickers on my sticker paper. Since I'm going to get rid of this white, I can just do the exact same set on white paper and on clear matte paper. So these are hot off the printer. So when I looked through and I got rid of these top 6 lines of open letters, and I started looking at how many times I had duplicated fonts to fill the 2 pages. I got rid of all the duplicates, I got rid of all the open letters, and I was very close to having just 1 sheet worth instead of 2 sheets worth. So I just got rid of some of the fonts I didn't like as well, and I ended up getting it down to basically one sheet. So January through December, these are on paper. I did increase the print quality to as high as I could because I wanted the black to be as vibrant as possible. And this is what I ended up with. These are the paper. This is an exact duplicate, but on clear matte sticker paper. So you can kind of start to see my desk through there. So then when I think about how I want to kiss cut these, the columns are pretty easy. I can just line up and come right down along here. Where I run into issues is when I get to letters that drop down. So since I just capitalized January and left the rest of it lowercase, I have the J that drops down, I have the Y that drops down, to varying degrees depending on the font. This particular J doesn't drop down at all. This one does. These 2 drop down just a little bit. So there's a lot of variation in your fonts. Something to consider if you want to try to do a nice, mostly square set of kiss cuts. I've done 2 different videos, or 2 or 3 different videos now where I show you my technique for kiss cutting. And this one's already getting kind of long, so I'm not going to get into that. What I do, though, want to do is look at some of the sheets and just discuss with you some observations. So the first thing that I notice here is these are nice and rectangular, and the reason is they printed these in all capital letters. So there's nothing that drops down way low that they would need to cut around. I did jump back into my spreadsheet program and play with writing these letters, writing these in all caps. And you can kind of tell from looking at these that the capital letters tend to be bigger than the lowercase letters. Look how big these capital letters are versus the lowercase letters. And there is a word for font sets that have mono spacing. So every letter takes up the same amount of space width-wise. So like the I and the L take up as much space as an M or a W. I did not go for that. I just went for fonts that I liked. So here you can see the R, the I, the L, very, very narrow. This lowercase a, quite wide, even wider than the P, even though they're basically both loops and bars put together. So as I started to capitalize everything, my sizes went all over the place. So that may or may not be something you want to take into account when you start setting up and picking your fonts. When you type out your columns that have your January through December, if you type them out with just a capital first letter, or if you type them out in all caps, something to consider that I did not, and now I need to deal with the repercussions of that. So as I look through more of these are all lowercase. There's no capital D, there's no capital N in November. So they are all over the place. If you wanted to do a square kiss cut on these, if you're using a cutting machine, a Cricut or a Silhouette, none of this makes any difference. You're going to set up your cut file and go around these and be just fine. But if you're kiss cutting by hand like I am, you have to decide, for example, when you go to kiss cut this July word, am I going to kiss cut straight across here and leave this little bit of sticker intact, or am I going to try to go around all of these? Maybe I just kiss cut them square, and then once in a blue moon, once a week, once a month, whenever I go to use these, if it bothers me, then I go ahead and just use some scissors to trim out the finer spots. Probably what I will end up doing, but I don't know yet. Going here further into my book, here's another set. Again, all capital letters. These would be pretty easy to just do some square kiss cuts around because there's nothing that's dropping down low. Same thing here. So some of these are Happy Planner pages. This is a Chrissy Ann Designs page, all capital letters. So I started noticing, this is the look I was going for, by the way, with the outlines, and I just didn't like the way it was looking, and I don't color them in super often, so that's why I went ahead and deleted all those off the page. But again, here's one that's got a lot of up and down. So, and then, yeah, again, all caps on these. So the vast majority of these are well, I would say not the vast majority, maybe slightly more than half of these are all capital letters, which makes the kiss cutting a little bit simpler. So just something to consider if you're going to take a stab at doing this yourself. That's really all I have for you on this video. Again, I've done several where I show kiss cutting. I will link one or two of those in the cards up above so that you can see them if you haven't yet. Otherwise, I hope you like this video. I hope it encourages you to maybe try making some of your own date covers. I will also link my clear matte and white full sheet sticker paper. They're both from Online Labels, which I order through Amazon Prime. I've only ordered them once because I don't run through them very often. I don't have a shop or anything, so I'm not going through very large volumes. Anyway, I hope you like this video. I hope it gives you some information to take a stab at trying to print some of your own labels. If it does, please consider liking and subscribing. Thank you.